Hello everyone, welcome to another video, and today we're going to be discussing some updates and some new trains I've added to my layout. Starting with the simplest change I've done, I have updated these logs so that they are, I think, 1 brick shorter on one side. So they're an odd length, but it allows them to fit in the carts a lot easier, especially when I finally have enough of the 2x2 wood plank texture, or the wood circle texture. It sort of fits, not really, but it's enough to where I can give the illusion, and I could take those like chain parts that Lego had added to the logs originally. I could take those off. I did have an explosion earlier where the train fell off my table when I was working, and I think I've lost 2/3 of a log, and I have no idea where it went. So that's something I'm going to be looking out for. I didn't find it earlier when I was vacuuming, so that's something. Moving on to this box car, nothing has changed with it, and I don't think anything will, unless, let me know if I should fill in these spots with these 2x2 curve pieces. I think I was going to originally, and then I learned I didn't have that many, so I stopped. And then I was like, okay, that's fine. But I should have enough now I can do those spots, and I can maybe do these spots if people want me to. And lastly, for the basic cargo cars, I have made some updates to this gondola, so hopefully it runs better on the track. Major thing is I've made it so it's 2 wheels per bogie. It also made me have to make this smaller, like detail bits way smaller. They aren't using the traditional train bogie piece. They're just using 2x2 turntables, which allows these to still have problems. That's why it's sitting right here and not at the start or in the middle of the S turn. If this thing is moving too fast, it still can derail, but it's a lot harder to. I hesitated there because it felt like it was starting to derail. Yeah, I think my S turn's a little too sharp, but it can handle the normal turns pretty well. I can't believe I put my entire arm in the way of the camera for that shot. But yeah, I also made it so I filled in some of these holes so I can have it actually have a load. I think I probably will for conventions. I'm just trying to think about the best way to store the probably 1x1 tile, 1x1 plates so that they don't spill everywhere. They'll probably just be in a bag, along with a couple of other bags for something else I'm going to show here in a sec. But this one's definitely my biggest gondola style car, so this one will take a lot to have to fill, and I'm not sure what I'm going to put in it. I mean, they're going to put like tan pieces in it, so it can be like grains, or I guess it could be cold too, so black ones. We'll see. I don't know what I'm going to do with that. Now we're going to move on to this tender over here. And by tender, I meant engine. This is the cargo train from 2018. But I have used someone's design on Rebrickable to change it up and make it look like this. Which I think, I don't know if it says so specifically on the Rebrickable, but this is similar to a 2003 Lego train where it had a very long nose and it was also green. This train is no longer motorized because of everything being squished. It is now generally... I mean, it's still a 6 wide-ish train, minus the rods here. But the area where the battery box used to go is now only 4 wide. So it's no longer motorizable, but that's a good thing, because for the most part, when I was at displays and conventions and stuff, this train usually just sat in a yard and didn't go anywhere because it uses powered up, and I don't have the powered up remote. So this would force me to have to use my phone to control. And now that I say that out loud, I need to double check that I can use the powered out app without having it open. Or in other words, I need to double check that I can still have a train running and not have the app open for the next train I'm about to show. I should also mention, if you do go to the Rebrickable page for this person's mock or mod of this set, I should mention I have made some changes. And I will have a link to the Rebrickable in the description below, as long as I remember. And if I don't put it there, someone please leave a comment and tell me I didn't leave it there. But yeah, I made some changes. I put in some slope pieces every once in a while to fill in the gaps. It does kind of hide away the yellow line that would go through, but I kind of like it. I moved the stickered, or I think it's a printed piece maybe, moved those to different spots. I reused all the other light gray clip arm things and the other couple of 1x2 tiles with this bar piece. I have also introduced this new like tiling strip line system because in the person's mod, they only allowed one person to fit in here, and I have somehow gotten 2 people to fit in here if I can get it to show off. I guess this side would probably be the best way. Maybe. It's kind of hard to tell. But basically, I have the female train driver who comes in this set. She's sitting down in a seat because her hair piece, she's got the dual molded piece where it's got the hard hat and her hair connected. I tried to have her be the one standing up, but it wouldn't allow me to put the roof back on. So she's sitting down, and then the older gentleman guy is standing there kind of looking like he's giving out pointers or just adjusting particular things because I put his hand up a little bit. And it's really hard to see in there, but that is generally what's going on in there. I was going to have them both sit down, but that would require me to modify a lot, and I decided I didn't want to. So this is what we got. I'm pretty happy with this, especially the profile. I really like just the way it looks. So it being able to just sit in the yard is going to be pretty good. And then, so let me give a quick demonstration of the entire train. So by just bowling it. Oh, I guess it's a little on the heavy side. Some of the magnets are having a hard time, but we should be able to, if I am careful with the gondola, should be able to make it through the S. I'm gonna have to shimmy up a little bit so I can reach this, and then we should be able to push around the curve, go up over here, and hit the other engine that I've now put back together. So let's show that off. Here is a revamped version of my gray little shunter train, now with a more secured second axle for 2 additional wheels. It is now also still using power functions. So that's why it's kind of got a big frame, because I had to hide the receiver in there somehow. But the receiver is able to be connected to way easier than the previous design. I still tried to keep the general shape I had originally, although the cab is moved forward quite a bit. I decided to just be lazy and not do anything with this back area, so it's kind of just like a lookout point on the backside for no reason. And then I also included this train panel that had a sticker on it. So, all right, I think it might be a print too, but just put that down there because I had no idea where else to put it, because I don't really do train stations or anything, so need somewhere to put it. But yeah, we got the caution, and I believe, if I remember right, the caution is what's hiding the battery box. And then in here is the receiver. Just kind of did my best to use as many of the parts I had originally for the other previous iteration of this little shunter. And let me pause real quick and turn it on. All right, we are on now. Just wanted to show video proof that I have to, in fact, turn it on. You can see the green coming through this part, but it's fine. And then if I remember correctly, this entire remote's not even used. I don't know why I keep forgetting to take it off, but it's fine. I will continue to forget. And then I believe it is on frequency 1 and on the blue channel. So let's see if I can do this with one hand. I think you kind of have to like point through the exposed window bits I've got going on here. Yeah, if I get going a little faster, I can use the stop button to make it stop, and then I can make it come back the other way. And there we go. So it should be able to do its functionality as being a shunter pretty well. If I decouple from probably here, probably only just the logs. It turns out I think my gondola magnets are starting to get a little weak or something. Those seem to be the weak points currently. But we're just gonna move that half of the train that way, and let's show the shunter in action. So I think it was this way. No, this way. I gotta remember, I think the last time the shunter was built, the controls were reversed, so left was actually right or backwards, and right was forwards. So now that things have changed, it's a little harder for me to make sure I do the things in the right order. But there we go. So it works out pretty well. It's going a little slow just because it's a little hard to get to the receiver if I'm not pointing at the windows. But yeah, so it should do pretty well. It's definitely one that I will be having run at shows and conventions. So 6 more batteries to chew through at every convention or every display I go to. But it should, at least for right now, that is one of my only 3 engines I have motorized. Yeah, 3. But until I can come up with a couple more engines, that's just gonna have to do. And I think it's decent. It has a few flaws, but ultimately it's just going to get replaced by potentially just a different shunter. So as long as I get it to work, that's all that mattered. And lastly, we're going to look at some models that I put together, I think all today and yesterday as of the time of recording. And this is mostly a childhood dream come true, because before getting into Lego and Lego Star Wars, I was raised on Thomas the Tank Engine. So I have finally gotten around to start making models based off of that, and I started with some troublesome trucks and a well, it's a powered van, but just a van, and then a brake van in the back. So let's start with the powered van, because that is gonna pull everything else. This dark green powered van is actually the latest of all of the Thomas the Tank Engine inspired trains. But because it's powered, I wanted to start with it first so we can show everything else off in a sec. I tried to give this one a happy smiley face. If anyone has a suggestion of how to do this smile a little bit better, let me know. But yeah, essentially this is just to hide the powered up battery box and motor. And I decided I didn't want to use any grays or browns, mostly because of one of the upcoming trucks, or van I should say. I didn't want to touch brown again. So I decided to just use as much of the dark green that I got. That's why you can see basically studs everywhere. I do not have that many tiles in dark green. And I just kind of wanted to go with the flow and just get something quick and dirty done so I could get the powered up working. This is what the interior basically looks like. It's just a bunch of the 1 by 2 by, I think they're like 2/3 bricks with studs on the side, which just allows plates to line up onto the grid a little easier. And then yeah, the roof is just held in by friction, just kind of falls in between everything. If I can do that with one hand. Yeah, that's the van. It's inspired a lot of the like using chains and stuff down here for the couplings is inspired by WoodenToby and a few other people. So I'll have links to WoodenToby and the other people that I pulled inspiration from in the description below. Moving down the line, this is actually the first troublesome truck I started with. This is from, I want to say season 1 of Thomas the Tank Engine. And it is the troublesome truck that has the like gray face, and these eyes are not the right colored eyes. They should be on like dark gray tiles as well. But yeah, super simple little truck. As far as I can tell in the pictures, because I wasn't able to find the specific episode, it's one of the smaller troublesome trucks. So it's only 2 bricks and 2 plates tall, if you include the tile. So a little small truck. That's why using these plates with bars, there's not one here because there's not enough room. And then something I found from, I think their name is WyattBuildsDecently on Rebrickable. I saw their troublesome truck use the masonry bricks, but the singular slit side. I was like, wow, that's really cool. That actually helps show that it's more like the troublesome truck in the show from the little model cars. So I went with that. Didn't have enough to do all in dark gray, so I kind of just made it look like it's starting to fade in certain places. That's my justification, at least. Eventually, I also need to replace all of these black bars I've been using for these different areas, and basically all the black parts except for the wheels and this plate that holds everything together with dark gray. I think dark gray is probably more in line with the color that they are in the show. I know a lot of people use light gray, probably just because it's more common, but I think dark gray looks better, especially now that I also know that these parts come in dark gray as well. But yeah, so he's also the first one I experimented with giving a face. I just did a very simple, I guess it's a side eye because these are all printed looking in one direction that I've got. And I at least with this guy, with the powered van, I was able to kind of come up with a face, like a mouthpiece. But for this one and most of my other trucks that have faces, I haven't been able to really figure out how to do the mouth. So I've kind of just been using the 1x4 with studs only on the ends as kind of like, they're like dimples or something. Just like, it helps with the face, but they're not really like a mouth. So yeah, and that's basically it with this first troublesome truck. You can also, after I just derailed it. Oh yeah, here's a better look at how the chain system works. There's no way I'm going to be able to get this connected with one hand. It's a little finicky and a little tight. Yeah, so basically I just have the really short chains, and then I put these tile the clip or stud the clip pieces on it just to give it a look. If I turn them and I had the hot dog pieces in black, I would add those as kind of like the brake lines, but it's fine. And then it has the feature of you can fill it with stuff, and oh, at some point I need to replace these parts with only studs on one side, but I'm using all of those for a different project. And yeah, let's move on to the next truck. So this troublesome truck is supposed to be more of a generic, or more in line with just how the troublesome trucks look overall. So this one's a little bit bigger. It is 3 bricks tall, plus whatever plates I used to get the clips in place, and then the tiles. I went with more of a light gray because I totally ran out of all my dark gray for the first troublesome truck I just showed. And then for the expression, I apparently don't have that many different eyeball pieces, so I just went with this one where you can either pretend it's like sleeping, or it's like a female truck, I guess, because of the eyelashes, because that's usually what Lego uses to denote girls in Lego. Or it's just another like happy face because of the way the dimple plate works, I guess. And then I just didn't bother to add all the bars because they all would have been black, so that's why there's none there. And then because it's a slightly bigger one, that means if I do ever put like coal or something in here, it can just hold a ton more. So nothing else much to say about this one, so let's move on to the third and final troublesome truck. This third and final troublesome truck is supposed to represent kind of the quarry trucks that Mavis uses at the quarry. So I tried to make the profile as small as possible on the sides. And I just wanted another truck because I have a bunch of these wheels now, and I was just like, I need more trains. I need more trucks, I need more vans. So just came out with this little guy, and he uses the most common eyeball piece that I've got, just like the generic 1,000-yard stare basically. And because of me using 1x4 plates, he kind of has a mouth. If you just see that line right there is the mouth. So I guess that might be how I do it, unless someone in the comments, you let me know there's a better way to do mouths for this size. So, oh yeah, I guess I should mention all of these are roughly 6 wide. I know some people do 7 or 8, but I figured, especially if I'm going to bring these to conventions and stuff, I don't want to make them too big. So I just stuck with like the city size of 6 wide. That will hopefully allow me to move these trains through other people's tracks and or tunnels and not running into problems, but we'll have to see. And then, yeah, because this one's a quarry truck, it can't hold that much, but I guess I can put slate or something in here. Something that just isn't super loose, but more square. Because at least for WoodenToby stuff, I think the slate that he uses is like 2x2 plates and tiles and stuff. So that would definitely fit in this a lot better than just a ton of like coal or something. Or at least I wouldn't have to worry too much if I use slate, if this ever tipped over like that at like a convention or something. The slate would be easier to pick up. And with that said, let's move on to the final Thomas the Tank Engine inspired van. Last but definitely not least is every good locomotive train needs a brake van, at least in the Thomas the Tank Engine world. So I made this brake van. I found someone else on Rebrickable. I've unfortunately forgotten their name, but I will put a link in the description for theirs as well. Theirs was light gray or dark gray, but I decided to go with brown because I wanted a different color. I didn't want to just stick with a bunch of gray parts. So I went with brown, 1 for that reason, and 2 just so I can get used to using brown again, because I'm so scared of it. My collection of parts is fairly old for certain colors, And these were no exception. Luckily, I had no breaks. Or I had one tile break, but not bad enough to not use it. One of these 1x6s that helps hold up the roof is got a crack in it, but you can't tell. So, luckily, no losers in this case, or no parts broken in too bad of shape. But yeah, so the brick van, it's got all the things. I don't know, at least in the episode that I watched to double check what the brick van looks like, it didn't have these like side lights, but I had them anyway. And also it didn't have this backlight, but I assume they probably have a light at some point, especially because if there's actually someone back here controlling the van. Or I guess I should say caboose because I am American, but whatever. Thomas the Tank Engine, I just use whatever words they use and they call these vans. So yeah, I got this couple of lights. There's no way to light those up except maybe the headlight one in the back. There's no way I'm putting a hole in these brown parts. I don't want them to break that bad. And then there's just a one wide gap, but I think if I position the minifigure properly, or carefully, I should say, there should be a way to get some brakemen back here into that gap. And then, yeah, the construction of this isn't too bad. I did change the design a little bit. Theirs use like two lines of tubes to show like the step up. I went with one and went with clips. They put the tube through holes, and I'm like, like I mentioned, most of my parts are kind of older, so sometimes they just get stuck really easy when putting like bar pieces through holes. So I went with clips, and then I did a couple of other changes to the bogey area just to make it slightly stronger for my situation. But other than that, it works out pretty well. So that is the entire lineup so far of my Thomas the Tank Engine inspired trains. These ones I'm super excited for because, at least as far as I'm aware, there's only one, maybe two other people in my lug that have Thomas the Tank Engine inspired stuff. And being a fan of Lego, being a fan of trains, and being a fan of Thomas, I'm like, yes, it's finally time. Finally time to combine the three. So I'm not sure what engine I eventually want. I did purchase the instructions for Thomas from WoodenToby. And I did make modifications, but then when rewatching an episode today, I realized a lot of those I didn't need to make. Or at the very least, I tried to change the color blue to a different blue than the one WoodenToby looks. But then I rewatched the show and I'm like, he kind of just looks like standard blue. So I will probably just use WoodenToby's design. It's definitely the simplest if you can just use someone else's, right? But it's a good model. I might tweak a few things, especially because I'm not a huge fan of using vinyl stickers. I'm not a huge fan of using stickers in general with Lego because I suck at putting them on, but we'll have to see. But yeah, so here's an overview of the Thomas ones again. Here's an overview of the more just generic Lego City trains. And I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. I'm glad to be back and making these somewhat long form videos again. I will probably make little short form videos showing off this stuff as well, so be on the lookout for that. If you have any comments or any feedback, let me know. Just leave a comment down below. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.